So our aim here at CRS is to ensure that our partners are equipped and have the necessary technical knowledge when approaching your clients. And that's going to assist you in growing your client base and your organization. Now, we want to show you how these solutions actually protect your clients, but also to support them. So we want to give you the independence and the confidence when you propose these solutions to end users. Now, CRS will always be your first line of support and contact. And our aim is to be second line support to your end clients. Now, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to post the questions into the chat box and we'll answer them at the end or during the session. A quick note that the webinar is being recorded, so should you require a copy of the recording, please reach out to your favorite account manager. It will also be uploaded onto the reseller portal. Great, so just to give you a brief introduction of who is on the call today and the team at CRS. So we have Dylan Nell. Dylan Nell is our head of vendor engagement here at CRS, and he has a wealth of experience in sales, logistics, and vendor engagement. He is definitely a door opener, a master relationship builder, and is always willing to assist resellers to reach their goals. We then have myself, Shannon Naika, as a product manager here at CRS. I liaise and assist resellers with ensuring all end user requirements and expectations are met. Now, I have years of experience within the technical space and holding various certifications and always willing to assist customers with anything that they might require. So just to give you a brief overview of the agenda for today and the upcoming session. So today we'll be focusing on the third session of ReaQta, which will include the commercial aspects. The next technical webinar will be focused on Beachhead, and we will then move on to EC Console. So we will have 3 sessions for Beachhead Secure and then a session for EC Console Aware. So as you've attended today's webinar, you'll automatically be registered for the upcoming webinars. So we will send out communication during the course of today or by tomorrow with regards to the meeting and if it would be held on Teams or on WebEx. So please have a look for your emails to be registered for next week's one. Great. So let's just start off with some EDR, MDR, and the XDR market. Now, everyone knows what an antivirus is, but generally what a lot of people don't understand is that an antivirus is very limited in terms of what it's able to protect an organization in terms of the current world attacks. Now, the next step in development of endpoint security is EDR, MDR, and now XDR. So these types of solutions, make use of artificial intelligence, and that's to handle threats and indicators of compromise, and that's proactively, even if they haven't been seen before. So these tool sets that endpoint detection and response bring to the market are essential to all organizations today. And ReaQta definitely stands out above the rest in terms of its detection capabilities and response. So with regards to the product tiers, now and the positioning of each tier. So as you can see, we have Eon, Pro, and Enterprise. Now, Eon is a cloud-based solution, and it consists of the HiveGuard and Hive Core module. Now, that is basically your next-gen antivirus. We then have Pro, which is a cloud-based or an on-premises solution. And then we have Enterprise, also a cloud-based and on-prem solution. And then we have ReaQta MDR. Now, ReaQta MDR ensures round-the-clock threat monitoring and real-time incident remediation, and that's by ReaQta Security Response Team. So with the product tiers, you're able to actually scale with the tiers. For example, if your client does not have the financial capabilities to take on Pro within the organization, they can start with Eon. That's your next generation antivirus and advanced threat detection. So from there, they would be able to move on to Pro. And within Pro, they'd have the following features. The anti-malware module, so that's Pro with HiveGuard or your next generation antivirus, advanced threat detection, endpoint protection policies, advanced threat analysis, rapid threat remediation, threat hunting, and the MITRE framework mapping. Now, if they require Destra or API access, they would be able to scale to Enterprise, and that would consist of the anti-malware module, Enterprise with HiveGuard or your next generation antivirus, advanced threat detection, your endpoint protection policies, advanced threat analysis, rapid threat remediation, threat hunting, MITRE framework mapping, detection strategies, and external API access. So All of this can be scaled according to the customer's requirements, and you are more than welcome to chat to us. I mean, that's the reason why we're here, if you require any assistance with this. So without further ado, I will then be moving on, or I'll be handing over to Dylan now, and he will take you through the rest of the session. So without further ado, over to you, Dylan.
Shannon, thank you very much. Assuming you can all hear me very well. Shannon, yourself, you can hear me, right?
Yes, absolutely perfect.
So guys, apologies for needing to change this to a Teams meeting at short notice, but for those of you that did join, really thank you for your time here. Shannon, thanks for the awesome introduction. Next time, maybe just speak about my looks as well. You know, it does make me feel a bit better when
Well, that's why we've actually included the picture, so they're able to put a
sure.
face to the name.
All right, guys. So what I'll be covering today is not fully technical, but it's more of how ReaQta as well as Team CRS can assist you in making ReaQta work for you, your teams, work for your customers, and ultimately the big reason we all get up in the morning to go to work is to make us all a little bit of money to buy bread at the end of the day, or in my case, a little bit more tequila. So what I'll be going through first is a bit of threat landscaping, or walking through the current threat landscape. I'm sure we can all agree one of the many aftershocks of the COVID-19 pandemic, and again, I don't like really speaking about that constantly because everybody else does as well, but the reality is there has been a spike in ransomware attacks, and the reason for this is because cyber criminals have taken advantage of organizations working from home. You know, so there's a lot more gaps in terms of them infiltrating or getting into your network and that sort of thing. For example, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center reports things like 20% rise in ransomware attacks just for 2020, even more so in 2021. And well, let's see what 2022 holds. I think from a reseller, MSP, distribution point of view in the cyber industry, you know, that this is, I mean, it's good news for us, but it's also a point of where we need to start. I mean, we've started already, but we're at the point of where we need to make sure that our customers are very much aware that there are these threats, and they need to be talking to us at least on a daily or a weekly basis about how we can mitigate these sorts of threats. I mean, the resulting losses almost tripled in the years before that. So these amounts are rising, and recent ransomware attacks have led to things like, I mean, the stupidest things like beef shortages in supermarkets, long lines at petrol stations, for example, and more pertinently, like multi-million-dollar ransom payments and law enforcement raids in cyberspace. The lists are pretty much endless. And the guys are targeting everyone and everything. You know, it's not just bigger companies that they're targeting. I'm sure we can all agree that it's the smaller guys as well. And one of the reasons for that is because the SMEs are more likely to pay. And these guys that are attacking aren't making $1 million requests, but they are making it relevant. So if you've got a one-man band that gets hit with ransomware, they're generally going to ask the guy, unless he's a lawyer or something to that effect, they're going to ask something that he can afford or she can afford, and that they can pay quick. And these guys don't have a lot of things like backups and that sort of thing. So what they do is they end up paying anyways. And I'll get into this a bit later, but the biggest issue with that is if you've been hit by ransomware, you pay the attackers. You've got a very good chance, a better chance of being hit again. It's similar to being struck by lightning. It's a fact that if you've been struck by lightning, you've got a very good chance of being struck again. So it's the same with ransomware. You know, these guys will keep attacking you, especially if you made a payment easy or you are an easy target. And the reason that the guys aren't always going again, you know, for like the big banks and that sort of thing, although they are, but those guys take time. They've got more security in place and that sort of thing. So the smaller guys are being hit as well. First off, because they're easier, and because they end up paying. You know, I think it's something like about 40% of small companies or SMEs do actually end up paying and then get hit with ransomware again. I don't know the exact statistics, but as you can see on the page, there's a lot of statistics. For example, there was a major car manufacturer that suffered an IT outage a while back. Obviously, the company denied that it was a ransomware attack, but it's quite obvious that it was. And I think it actually came out that there was a $20 million ransom. So yes, the bigger guys do get attacked, but it's not always them. So I think everybody needs to be secure. The point is that we're not always going to be 100% secure, but we need to at least be trying our best for our customers. So I'm sure you can all agree. They're attacking, business service type of companies. Again, a consulting firm that I read about was, again, these guys are very silent about this sort of thing, but and then it comes out that they've been hacked, and something like 6 terabytes of data from their servers have been taken. So I think in that case, the group demanded something like $50 million worth of ransom. So and then they went and published it online, or they threatened to publish it online. There's various right types: food and agriculture, healthcare, insurance, law enforcement, oil and gas companies. I think everybody is at least us in the know. We're very wary of this. I don't think that everybody is always keeping these things top of mind, but we're in the day and age where we need to be. I'm sure you can all agree. So another big thing at the moment is ransomware as a service, right? So this is where, cyber criminals don't even have to have their own coding anymore. They can literally just get somebody to do it for them. I mean, you get syndicates who have built like a business model built around this, and what they offer is out of the box ransomware attacks for sale on the dark web. So some criminals, they don't even have to build this stuff themselves. They can just be renting it from somebody that they don't know anyways. And some of these criminals even offer customer service centers and that sort of thing. So it's like a real business that they're actually running there. And then you get things like pay or publish. So fraudsters pretty much up the ante by not only exfiltrating and deleting an organization's data, but also taking it and then threatening to publish it on the dark web if a ransom isn't paid. So what do? You end up either paying or hope for the best. But the guys are very malicious. So if you don't pay, they don't put your information on the dark web, the next guy they attack isn't going to really take them serious anyway. So they do end up doing the worst of the worst over and over. You get things like supply chain attacks, which is also another big thing, and this is pretty much where they gain access to their target through the vendors that are compromised, like through credentials and infected systems and things like that. So these guys are finding very, very interesting ways to get hold of data and that sort of thing. Shannon, I don't know if you just want to jump one back there. Actually, it's fine. Stay on this one. So as you could see, the cost of remediation in general would far outweigh the cost of getting your data back and that sort of thing. So and like I said, the problem is if you've been hit once, it's very, very likely that it's bound to happen again. So we all know that pretty much a good percentage of these attackers are actually returning the data. But the problem is when they return your data and you have made a payment, you become a return customer in their eyes. And especially if you were a quick target, an easy target, they'll definitely have. I mean, I know of a customer that literally got hit with ransomware and literally 3 weeks later got hit again. We suggested to them to take EDR and they didn't want to, and then 3 weeks later they phoned us again saying, well, we've been hit again, and had you taken on a sufficient EDR solution like ReaQta, you would have 99% chance been covered. So and then you wouldn't be sitting with this issue again. So I think we need to pretty much preach a little bit more to our customers. But again, you obviously don't want to chase your customer away. But if you have the proper systems in place, it should be, it should be all right. So moving on to the next slide. How does CRS fit into your lives, guys? well, hopefully we fit in more often than not, and I'll discuss how we actually fit in. But perhaps before I get into that, we could actually, or I could actually explain the channel model. So as being South Africans, we generally know how farming, for example, works. So the best way for me to ever explain it is, you have a farmer that produces, let's call it 30,000 eggs a day. Um, the farmer is not going to go and sell direct to the public, or he's going to have 6,000 people lining up every morning at his front door wanting to buy eggs. He's going to have to become his own, and it won't be his spaza. It'll have to be a whole factory or a whole warehouse, because he's going to have so many people lining up. So what he or she does is, what they do is they get a distributor. So you're looking at Checkers warehouse and that sort of thing, right? So here in Centurion, there's a big Checkers warehouse, like a whole warehouse, a distribution center. So what Checkers does is they buy all those eggs from a farmer, it would be at 30,000, probably more than that, probably 100,000, whatever the case is. They then the distribution center, and they distribute to all of their resellers, which is the Checkers and that sort of thing that you and I go and shop at. Not every day, but some days. I know my wife probably goes there every day, anyways. Um, so then that's exactly it. So my wife then would become the end user. So basically, you get vendor, which is the egg farmer. You get distributor, which is the Checkers warehouse, or the macro, or whatever the case is, and then you get the or perhaps not a macro, but a macro distribution center. Then you get the actual resellers, which is your SPAs and your Checkers and all the rest. And then you get your end user. So it's pretty much layered, it's four-tiered. In certain cases, vendors do sell direct, but that's the type of farmer that would be producing 30 eggs a day and only needs 6, and he sells the other 24 to his neighbors in return for probably for cabbage and carrots and all the rest. So you get the gist of what I'm saying. If you guys do have questions on that, I can go quite in depth on the channel model, but it's fairly basic. Just always think of the farmer versus selling all of these beef, carry and beef can't sell. Well, I suppose they can and do, but it's very difficult for them to sell their 20,000 pieces of steak per day to the end user. So that what they do is they sell to the spars and the butcheries, and we end up going to the butcheries and purchasing from there. Um, so basically, a vendor cannot really resell to the end user. Like I said, some of them can and some of them will, but it just ends up being too much of an effort for them, where they start concentrating on selling to the end user and not actually looking after their solution and keeping it real, if you will. And the problem is that they have 10 million people lining up at their front door trying to purchase things. It's the same, could be said for Samsung TVs. They get produced in, I think it's Korea, whatever the case is. They produce 20,000 TVs, but we can't all go and sit at Samsung's front door now and purchase directly from them. So what do? They get the South African distributors like the Tarsus Distributions, Access, those sort of guys, who then purchase 10,000 TVs and distribute to their resellers, which would be your Incredible Connections, your Macros, and all your TV appliance places. And then we, the end user, go and end up purchasing from there. If we could possibly go directly to Samsung, I suppose it would be cheaper, but they just don't have the capacity to sit, and they have 20,000 salespeople dealing with their end user customer base. Hence, you need vendor, distributor, reseller, end user. And in some cases, you do bypass, and like I said, maybe with the smaller vendors, they do go direct, or only have distributors, or only have resellers, or sometimes do go direct to the end user. So there are various ways of doing it, but the best channel that I've ever seen, especially for the bigger guys, is having that four-tier or four-layered model. So let me also reiterate, CRS is fully channel focused. That's the type of distri we are. And what this means is we do not sell to the end user. We do interact with end users, but only upon request from our MSPs and resellers. So we will absolutely never go direct to the end user without your knowledge. We definitely don't discuss pricing with end users unless it's a request from our reseller, but probably will never be a request like that. And there has never been one that I can recall anyways. So where does CRS fit in? Right there in the middle. We assist the vendors with getting their solution to the market, but we also assist our resellers and MSPs with bringing the best of breed solutions to sell to the market. So we act as an extension of the vendor as well as of the reseller. And pretty much we do all the dirty work, the work that none of the other parties want to do. Things like importing and dealing with those importing costs and that sort of thing, being the buffer for the rate of exchange that sometimes really bites distributors. But anyways, part of life, I suppose. So moving on to the next slide, but pretty much still on the same subject is over and above this, I suppose I should say, is what makes CRS a true VAD. And what that VAD is it's a value-added distributor. And it's the fact that we also assist with sales from beginning to end. Like I was saying, again, we don't touch the end user unless it's a requirement, but we do offer that as a value-added service, where we actively seek out end users and pass them back into the channel, pretty much as a thank you very much, guys. We do appreciate your support. Here's some extra business for you, that sort of thing. And we also do put on the cap of our reseller, so we don't walk into an end user with the CRS cap on unless it's ultimately required, but we generally put on the reseller or the MSP cap, and we pretty much become part of your team and assist you with winning all of your opportunities. I realize that some of the guys do have larger sales teams, but again, sales guys are generally extremely busy, so they do appreciate guys like us getting involved and actually assisting them with the sale, because I mean, let's get real, a salesperson is supposed to concentrate on sales, but what we all end up concentrating on is sales for an hour and then admin for 15 hours, because you've got to get involved in operations and make sure that your client's happy and that sort of thing. So we just, what we want to do is we want to be an added arm or an extension of your team, and just really put that reseller cap on and show a good front to your customers. And essentially showing a good front for your teams makes us look good as well in front of you. So that is our value add, or at least one of them. What we also do is completing tech talks with your customers, assisting with presentations and that sort of thing. And again, we can build presentations to your liking, or take our presentations like the one you're seeing right now and pretty much resellerize it, if you will. So reseller X, we can put your logo on and make it work for you and present on your behalf if you'd like us to. And then over and above that, we also assist with implementing the solution. So we never just drop box and say, hey, Mr. Customer, go and enjoy installing your solution at your customer. We actually make sure that your end customer is happy with the solution as well. A few big reasons for that is to keep you happy, to keep the customer happy, but also a happy customer is a returning customer, which means, we'll contact you monthly or periodically to see how the customer's doing, and then ultimately 9 months time we'll go back to the end user and say, look, Mr. Customer, you are happy with the solution, you're happy with the support all the teams have given you, let's start discussing the renewal. So we really do emphasize those sort of points as well. So that's it. We assist with the sales, technical, marketing, and everything else required to make sure that you, the reseller, actually really shine and in the end get the sale. Because in the end, when you get the sale, guess who else gets the sale? We do. So again, we thank you for your support, but we also do really want to be that value add where we actually assist you in completing your sales. And that's exactly what makes us different to other disties. I've worked with and for some of them, although they are very good. Obviously, they're very good, or they wouldn't be around, but I don't think any of them are offering this sort of service, and I don't think that they really have the capacity to. But yeah, in any case, that's a whole other subject. So the original role of the disty was to pass paper, do the shipping, and pretty much sit and do all the quotes all day, and then pretty much just pass the paper back and forth between the vendors and the resellers. So what we decided to do differently is do the quotes, assist with pricing, arrange the shipping as per usual, but then also assist with opening doors to new logos, like I've been saying, doing demos, POVs, that's proof of value or proof of concept for, I suppose everybody knows exactly what that is, but also, like I'm saying, doing presentations to your customers and essentially assisting you to close the opportunities as one. And then, like I was saying, do the implementation for you also, or at the very least, assist with implementing the solution, making sure that the end customer is happy. I'm hoping for some questions out of the audience here, guys. Anyone? I'll literally just unmute anybody and start asking a question or any question. Any questions, guys? Shannon, I am audible, correct?
Yes, you are.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so I suppose moving on, guys. You do have my contact details, so perhaps if you do have any questions that you perhaps don't want to ask on a public forum such as this, please feel free to shoot me a mail, send me or give me a phone call. I like phone calls, so please. So if we could perhaps move on to the next slide. So how do we how do we assist with getting new business for you? Okay, so I just think maybe just jump one back, I think there. Yes, that's the one. New business. How do we get new business? I was hoping that you guys would show us how to do it, but anyways, how we do it and how we are doing it for our current MSPs and resellers. We've got various ways that we helping various guys out. That's essentially the role that we want to play is getting new business for you. And as many of you would know, we have many initiatives running. One of them, for example, is Campaign in a Box that we are dealing with some of you already on. Basically, we have the sales sessions, virtual sessions with your sales team, as you would know, where we sit with the prospecting, lead generation, information on contacts and opportunities and that sort of thing. And I'll explain this shortly. If Campaign in the Box is something that you would be interested in, please reach out to me after the session. We'd love to involve as many people as possible. So maybe I can just break down lead versus prospects and that sort of thing, or the list of things that I mentioned in trying to close a sale. So a lead is an unqualified contact. So basically a person or an end user that you would like to pursue, versus a prospect, and it sounds like the same thing, but it's very much not. A prospect is actually a qualified contact who has been moved into the sales process. So both of these are regarded as a likely potential customer. So basically, any company that you deem could be a potential customer, that's what they are. Basically, you gather leads first, qualify them into prospects, and then move them into your sales funnel or your sales process. And then a contact is your next step in the process. Once the lead actually engages with you or your account manager or your sales content, or even speaks to anybody at the company about your solutions, and shows interest in purchasing your product, they become a contact. Where does the opportunity lie? Once a contact engages with your sales team or your account manager or expresses any sort of interest in your solution, they actually become a qualified, or they should be more qualified by your account manager. And if they are determined to be a qualified contact who would fit in well as a customer, a contact officially becomes an opportunity. Yeah, and that's exactly where you want to lie. They then start receiving dedicated attention from your account manager, and the account manager should then be trying to win that business or win business from the customer, obviously by building rapport and the like. So again, we at CRS definitely want to play a role in this process with you. And how do we do that? Well, by engaging more, guys. So please, you have our numbers. Please get involved a bit more. We are involved daily, constantly. We're on calls with all of our resellers all day, every day, doing presentations. But we'd like to start working at night, maybe. Maybe if our days are too full, we really want to fill up the coming weeks. They generally are full, but we really want to fill them up even more so with assisting you in closing your opportunities. So please, let's see how we can collaborate. That's one thing that we really want to focus on. Shannon, I'll give you to move over to the next slide now, please, ma'am. Which is one I really like, capitalization. How do you earn money with ReaQta? How can you make ReaQta work for you? How can you make Team CRS work for you? So when using and also reselling ReaQta, the pros are pretty much endless. When you sign up as a ReaQta partner, you receive demo licenses. These can be used to demo the solution to your customer. But over and above this, because they are NFR or not for resale licenses, you can use them in your own environments. And in doing so, save your company money on this expense. So here's the kicker, though. This is literally only the tip of the iceberg. With ReaQta installed on your environment, you'll save on staffing costs as well, so immensely. And the reason for this is because the solution is fully autonomous. So basically, you only need pretty much one engineer to report back on any issues if there were any. But ReaQta does it all for you, from mitigating the risks to pretty much doing a report back if there were any sort of issues. And this is actually a crazy sales point for your customer also, saving them money on staff costs, as they won't require so many staff to deal with their cybersecurity, especially if they take on the MDR portion of ReaQta. So the purchase of ReaQta is more than just selling AV or an EDR. It's a definite investment, and that's exactly what it is. So what do you do? Oh, sorry, what do you get when you take on ReaQta? Well, you get the antivirus portion of it, but then with that you also get EDR on top of that, which is obviously what ReaQta excels in, and that is the best protection for your laptops and your other endpoints like your Androids and that sort of thing. So over and above this, you also get support from the vendor and distributor, which is CRS. Which I'll touch on a little bit later or in a couple of minutes. I'm cognizant that we only have 26 minutes left, and I mean, with the amount of questions you guys have asked, I need to leave a bit of space for Q&A. So hopefully you guys can come up with something. So you get a disti who will act as an extension of your business for sales, presentations, technical, including demos, proof of values, proof of concepts, as well as installations, implementations, and training on all of the solutions that we do sell. And I'm not just talking about training to you, but if your end customer requires training as well, we do full training so that everybody that's dealing with our solutions are very well versed with what they're working with. So we're looking forward to hitting the market hard with you and with ReaQta. And on our next slide, you'll see just how well ReaQta has done and how we actually compete. So in South Africa, moving to the next slide, in South Africa, there actually are a lot of excellent EDR vendors here, each with their pros and cons. Definitely not going to point fingers at any because they are all very good. But a lot of them do have some cons, but they also do have their pros. I'm sure that some of you are working with different EDR vendors. Let me perhaps run through some of the more along the lines of pros, but I need to maybe just also highlight some issues that I have seen with some of the vendors. I definitely won't mention their names. But the biggest issue I've seen in the market is when vendors do go direct to the end user and then start dictating pricing to the reseller. So I'm hoping that none of you have dealt with this sort of thing before, but I've dealt with it quite a lot, especially when I was in the reseller world. So if these sorts of things are happening, just obviously be wary and kind of like keep that Chinese wall between your customer and your vendor or your disti. For me, this is actually a big issue. I cannot tell you how many times I've been lied to and that sort of thing when I was in the reseller world. So it is quite annoying. Nevertheless, their solutions are still brilliant. So I suppose you have to take it with a bit of or with a pinch of salt. There is a bit of give and take, I suppose. This is one of the issues that I've seen, but there are further issues which lie in a few spaces. Some of them are contracts. I know one of the vendors, to sign up, it always has to be not just an exec level signing the contracts, it has to be the CEO of your company, whether you're a reseller or end user, and you need to collaborate with the CEO based out of Singapore, for example. So some of these guys do pretty much make it a nightmare to sign up. Pricing is obviously a big one. Our pricing is generally very well placed, as many of you would know. And then in-country support for a few of the other vendors. I can say from a ReaQta point of view, as I'll get into in a slide or two, we are very big on support and making sure that our customers, as well as our customers, which is the end user, are happy with the solutions that are taken to the market. So these are only a few, and although I could go on and on, the last thing I want to do is slander anybody else, especially if they're not in the same room with us. I'll gladly have a conversation with anybody, but as long as they're in the room, don't really want to speak bad about anybody. I can tell you though that with ReaQta through CRS, we have worked hard at plugging these sorts of holes that we've seen with the various vendors that I have worked for, and with the various vendors that perhaps our team members have worked for at the different companies that they've worked at. So we definitely have tried to plug these sorts of holes and make things very easy for our resellers to take our solutions to the market. From start to finish, as well as after sale, we definitely are there to make things as smooth as possible, like I was saying. So perhaps I can walk through our process and how you, or then you can see what our value add actually is, if I haven't reiterated enough. But besides having one of the best EDR solutions out there, pretty much one of the best on the planet, by the way, with so many added features that others don't have, it's pretty much very easy for us to take it to market. So first off, our sign up is straightforward. Purchasing is made very simple. There's no, these long contracts that you need to get through, extended info and terms and conditions that you need to worry about. Our invoices are very basic, very easy to understand. The sign-up process is very easy, and we make purchases even easier as well. Our quoting times are phenomenal, as are the other disties, but we try get our quotes out there very quick. So unless it's a very complex quote, but generally our quotes can be done in a few minutes. Feel free to go onto our reseller portal, the CRS reseller portal. If you don't have access already, please request access. You can just request your quote directly from there. It'll ask you for a little bit of information, and you should have your quote a few minutes later, barring any major issues. If you don't have your quote very quick, we will contact you and say that we are working on it, whatever the case is. So we also offer full level 1 support and assist with getting you, the actual reseller, to that point also. So basically we want to get you to the point of where you so well versed with the solution, you can be your own level 1 support, and we'll become level 2 support. So in other words, you don't have to keep phoning us. You can literally just sort the issues out yourself. And if you do get stuck somewhere, we'll be your level 2. And if we cannot assist, well, then we move to level 3, which is based out of the Netherlands. It's also a very good thing that they're based out of the Netherlands. ReaQta is based out of the Netherlands, and the good thing about that is that it's very similar time zones. So you're not dealing with logging tickets and waiting for the Americans, for example, to wake up and start assisting you, or perhaps the Ukrainians, where you might not understand them, or that sort of thing. So we are quite well versed with our support system and our support structures, and it has been working very well so far. So please remember that for when you are selling to a customer, that is a very good selling point, is that their systems won't have as many issues or any issues, because we literally in South Africa and the Netherlands, and we can give that support. We also assist our resellers, like I've been saying, in completing sales, and basically from the start also we present on your behalf. We do demos, POVs, then pretty much take the customer's hand and sign the PO off, if you will. And I'm sure you can appreciate that. So thanks, Shannon, for moving to the next slide. So we pretty much wear your hat, by the way. So when we do meet your customer, we meet as part of your team and not Team CRS, unless this is a requirement from you. We could meet as Team CRS, but we usually put your cap on. And once we have the demo and the POV completed for your customer, they supply you with a PO and all the paperwork is complete. We then assist and complete full implementation for you on your behalf, and we complete training during this time for you to see how implementations are done, so that you can do them yourself in the future if you so like. But generally we can keep doing the implementations for you, but I'm sure most of the guys do appreciate doing the implementations themselves. So we do that hand-holding exercise for a short period of time, or until you tell us to pretty much hit the road. But pretty much we're trying to make sure that yourself as well as your customer gets full value from the solution that they purchased, and then obviously come back for the renewal. So perhaps let me move to POVs and how they work. Yeah. So we have various sessions. Generally, it's 3 or 4. We have, for example, we go through the deployment of ReaQta, how the agent becomes or is a component to be installed on devices, and whether devices need detection and protection, that sort of thing. We look at things like update manager under administration. We go through group IDs from the dashboard. We talk about, or actually we give a full dashboard walkthrough and details. I'm only touching on it here, guys. So some of you have been through the POV process before. You'll see how in depth it actually goes. But we basically deal with a couple of things, actually quite a lot of things, but some of them that I mentioned here, like open alerts, and we walk through the trends page. We talk about or walk through the alerts by severity, the different endpoints you might have, endpoints triggered by most events. Actually show you exactly how the solution works very well. I see there's more guys waiting in the lobby. Shannon, thank you. We talk about or actually show you how endpoints are triggering the alerts, what are the most active or alert connections, apps that trigger the alerts, machine type distribution, and that sort of things. Technical guys will know exactly what I'm speaking about. We go through the connected endpoints, the policies that you have for your company, as well as through ReaQta, and then the most active event types. And we also walk through the Mitra attack, which most of you will know is very important. Most EDR solutions are built and actually should be built on the Mitra attack framework. I'm sure that you'll all be very well versed with that. So that's the sort of thing we go through. We also discussed whitelisting, blacklisting, protection. Basically, we make sure that you're fully comfortable and capable of implementing and using the solution. We assist with policy tuning. We assist with responding to the alerts that I mentioned, as well as analyzing the alerts. We cover triaging. So triaging pretty much involves the determination of priorities and that sort of thing. We cover the protection and how responses work, creating policies. We cover the Nano OS, which I'm sure you can all agree is a very big one and a very big standout for ReaQta. It's a very, very core component of the Hive agent and constitutes a huge differentiator between ReaQta and other EDR solutions. We then also cover threat hunting. We discuss commercials of ReaQta. We expand the tiers like Shannon did earlier. We discuss pricing, payment terms, and that sort of thing. And then, guys, I'm sure you'll be glad to hear that this should be my last slide, which says support on it. By the way, and perhaps I can leave you with support. From a CRS and a ReaQta point of view, Team CRS is your first line of support, like I've been saying. We are based in South Africa, which obviously makes a lot of sense for our resellers. We do have an option in the CRS reseller portal to log support calls as well. So not just request pricing. It's not always just about the money. It's also about keeping you happy. I hope you all do have access. If you don't have access, please request access. The reseller portal has a plethora of information on all of our solutions. So if you ever do require anything, instead of phoning us, you can phone us, but if you're looking for something specific, work through the portal, download all the documentation that you need. It's got a whole bunch of white papers. You can do support calls, you can do request pricing and that sort of thing. So please get more acquainted with that. So from a support perspective on technical, like I was saying, we are your first line. Third line sits with ReaQta based out of the Netherlands. Hence, like I've been saying, we're in similar time zones, so this does play a huge role. Essentially, though, like I was saying, with our resellers that are more well versed with ReaQta, you are now your own first line support, which is actually the way most of you want it. And then Team CRS is your second and third line, will always sit with the vendor. So for those of you who need to become first line, Team CRS will give full training like we have been doing, and pretty much assistance holding your hand to get you there. As discussed previously, we offer a sales campaign in a box where we assist you with lead generation. So we generally assist with technical sales, marketing, and usually would supply you with pricing very quickly, like I've been saying. What happens if we make you first line support? Well, but there we are already first line support. So thanks for that question. I actually didn't see where it came from. A very good question. So currently we are your first line support, and we can remain your first line support. Some MSPs and resellers prefer us not to be first line support, so they want to skill themselves up and be so well versed with the solution that their client deals directly with them and not with us. Which definitely makes sense. But then again, some guys would like us to keep being their first line of support, which we're more than happy to do. I hope that answers your question. Just give me a thumbs up if it does, and a thumbs down or a slap across the face if it doesn't. The bottom line here, guys, is as per your screen, we definitely, or as per what you're seeing on the screen, we want you to succeed, because if you succeed, we too succeed, like I was saying earlier on. So whatever it takes, guys, within reason, we will make it work. So please, let's get started. Please reach out to us if you haven't already. I know that actually pretty much all of you have. But for the guys that haven't yet, please reach out to us, to your account manager or to our info email address. But I'll gladly put my email in the chat box as well as my contact details. Please feel free to contact me should you have any questions or that sort of thing. So I'm going to put our reception line in as well as my cell phone number. What is the timeline for POVs? Again, I can't see really where the questions are coming from, but thank you for the question. So generally a POV would take between 3 and 4 weeks. But basically it comes to depends on your customer. So does your customer want to hurry up? We had a customer the other day that wanted to do a POV in a week and a half. So what we did is we created 2 or 3 sessions per week to walk them through the solution as quick as possible, get it into the environment, see how it works, and we'll provide report backs. But generally we suggest 3 weeks to a month. So you get your demo license, which lasts for a month. And your POV should be done in 3 weeks, barring any issues, which they generally aren't, but we do cater for an extra week. And then once you've done the POV process, you take the solution on. If you do take the solution on, we then arrange for those demo licenses to become NFI kits, which are available for a full 12 months for you to use in your environment, like I said earlier, as well as demo to your own clients. I trust that answers your question. Some people in this chat are outside your organization. It's possible that message relates to policies. Okay, so that's not a question. Thanks, Eugene. Thanks for that. I see it came through from you now. Ruben, very good question. I believe I've answered that. Ganesh, none at this time. Guys, I see that I have further questions asking coming in. Let's just wait for them to be typed, so you don't mind. Keep them coming in, guys. I'm awake till 12 tonight, so, and I've had a lot of coffee today. So, good stuff. I'll just wait for your questions to pop through there. Thanks for that. Good stuff. Hopefully, when we meet for a whiskey, you can then maybe not slap, just give me a punch in the shoulder or something. Guys, I will stick around for a couple of minutes. Shannon, back to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Dylan. And thank you to everyone that has joined today.
Shannon, you are very faint. If you are speaking, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, guys. Let me just change my audio settings. Just hold on for me. Hi, Dylan. Can you hear me better now?
There we go, much better. Thanks, Shannon.
Okay, great. Apologies for that, everyone. As was mentioned, it really was an honor to have you part of the call today. And Dylan, I see you have your hand raised. Is there anything from your side?
No, just showing the rest of the team how it's done, guys. So if you want to ask questions, please go ahead and raise your hand.
Okay, great. So yes, look, we still have a couple of minutes. So if you want to add anything to the chat box in terms of questions, in terms of how we can assist you, As Dylan mentioned, we definitely are here for our resellers, and we will always be. We always want to be in contact, and in line with what you want. Kinesh, I see you've raised your hand. I can unmute you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Dylan and team, thank you for the valuable information shared this morning. Absolutely brilliant as always. Just from the ReaQta perspective and not a technical perspective, we service different market segments, etc. Would you say that the ReaQta solution falls in specific numbers? What's the sweet spot? Instead of us going to companies and punting and proposing these, what's it, 50 to 100 up?
So that's an excellent question, and it is a thing with most EDR vendors, is that one or two users just isn't going to cut it, right? Because you need that sort of brain in the background that is going to work, and it's really, Kinesh, thanks for this question. It is a very pertinent one. So yes, there is a sweet spot, and I would say it's 50 plus. I'm not saying that you cannot quote anything less than that, but generally it is 50 plus, and even with 50 plus, between 50 and 250, I would suggest only going in with the next gen antivirus, which is your anti-malware and that sort of thing, and it pretty much covers, well, a little bit more, actually quite a bit more than what your basic antivirus would cover, and it comes in at the same cost, or actually a bit cheaper. When you are looking at the bigger clients, well, then you can actually start looking at your EDRs and that sort of thing, because it is quite a bit more pricey than your general antivirus as well as your next gen antivirus. But again, ReaQta is extremely well priced when it comes to the other EDR vendors. But yes, Ganesh, you are looking at 50 plus. Again, I need to reiterate that we have quoted less than that, but it does become quite pricey for the smaller guys. Hence, I say go for the next gen antivirus.
Perfect, thanks. And I'm assuming that count is relative, because if you've got 25 plus and you've got very high risk data in your environment, you want to look at something like this.
Well, exactly. If you are a law firm, and a medical center, especially medical centers, that data is extremely critical. It is the most expensive data that you can find out there. So those guys, I'd like to say that they get a bit more money than most industries, so they can afford EDRs, even though they might be smaller teams. So yes, those sorts of companies definitely need to look at EDRs. It's without a doubt. So thanks for that.
Thanks, Kinesh. Thanks, Dylan. Is there anyone else that has any other questions? Please also note that you are more than welcome to pop us an email. And if you do not want to ask any questions on the public forum here, you're more than welcome to send us an email or even just give us a call, and we can definitely have a chat with you with regards to that. Okay, I see we have another attendee typing. Let's just wait for that question.
And while we're waiting for the thanks, Marshall. Thanks for that. While we're waiting for the comments to come in, guys, apologies for changing this to a Teams meeting at last minute. We had a bit of technical difficulties last night with one of our systems, so we had to change to a much easier, user-friendly way of doing things. I think moving forward, we might just stick with Teams. The only problem is with Teams is that it's very much a public forum, so everybody's visible to everyone, and we just don't want to share too much information with each other. Although I don't mind at all if you interact. All right, guys, unfortunately we'll have to drop off at exactly 11, so if there's nothing else, I will mute myself, but feel free to jump or keep going and then just listen to the further questions that are visiting out.
Okay, great. Once
Thanks,
again,
thank you very much. Thanks, Shannon. Over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Dylan. So thank you everyone for attending, and thank you for all the comments within the chat box. So please feel free to contact us. As I mentioned, we definitely do want to engage with you a little bit more and assist you. And we look forward to having you part of our next session. So our next session will basically go in depth into Beachhead Secure. That'll basically be with regards to the dashboard in terms of reporting, and exactly what it does with regards to an endpoint. We also want to have you part of that session so that you understand the functionalities of it. And then we will have a commercial part where you actually are able to understand a little bit more when you're presenting it to your client. So having said that, I see we have 2 minutes left. Sorry, I see we have another comment typing in the chat box. We'll just give that a second. Okay, I see that last one didn't come through. Once again, thank you guys, and we look forward to having you part of our next session.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Bye, everyone.